Hello, everybody, to all participants that are joining us today. We are very happy to have you with us. It's a pleasure. I would like to say also hello to Dr. Anjana Bukow. She works for the German Research Foundation. Hello. And at the German Research Foundation, she is a program director and responsible for research careers. And she will give you some information about the funding programs from the German Research Foundation today. But before we start, I would like to get to know you also a little bit better. And it would be great if you could answer this little poll here, so only that we know who is with us today. And last but not least, a few words about me. My name is Anne Knab. I work for the Initiative Research in Germany, and my job is to inform international researchers about their research options in Germany. So, do you see, I hope you see the poll. No, I think now you see the poll. Yeah, and I see there are many people who already have a doctorate and I suppose or I assume now are looking for postdoc positions. This is very good because most of the funding programs of the German Research Foundation are for postdocs. We also, or the DFG also has some opportunities for PhD students. So I assume all people that have a master's degree are currently looking for PhD positions. Or probably perhaps you are already in your PhD and are preparing for your first postdoc. So that would also be wonderful because then we would also have a lot of information for you. And I see you are already writing in the chat. So a few words about the chat. The chat is for asking you questions, and my colleague Julia Altmann will also try to answer, or she will definitely answer some of your questions in the chat. And it would be great if you ask questions that are not subject specific, because currently we have 106 participants and you come from all over the world and have many different research areas that you're doing research in. And because of that, it would be easier to have questions and to answer questions that are relevant for everybody. So please don't ask subject specific questions. So we will start with a short introduction by Dr. Anjana Bukow now. First she will give us some information about the DFG, of course, but also about the opportunities for PhD students by the DFG. And after that, we will talk about the postdoc opportunities. And the time frame of the session will be half an hour. So, and now I would like to give the floor to Anjana.
Thank you very much, and hello, good afternoon to everybody. I'd like to briefly present to you the organization I have been working for 18 years now. Anne, you have already mentioned it's the German Research Foundation, the DFG. It's the biggest funding organization for basic research in Germany. We fund projects of different sizes and in all subjects, from archaeology to zoology, as long as it's basic research, not applied. Each year, the DFG receives more than 3 billion euros from the government to spend the money among researchers in Germany in a competitive way. Researchers from all fields who have earned their PhD and want to carry out their research at a German university can apply for funding. We don't ask for somebody's nationality, but the research has to be carried out, has to take place in Germany, because that's our mission, carry out funding research in Germany. However, we support scientific cooperation on an international level as well. So that's what I wanted to say about the organization I work for. And now I will present to you the DFG's funding opportunities, which I think are most relevant to you. You see on this picture below the dotted line, that you can benefit from the DFG funding in an indirect way. That means you do not apply to the DFG, but you profit from funding that somebody else has already successfully acquired from us, from the DFG. And this somebody now looks for a researcher or several researchers to work on the project in question. Okay? For these positions, you would simply apply to the project leader or the project coordinator, not to the DFG. This is an opportunity, as you can see on the slide, for student assistants, PhDs, and people on a postdoctoral level. Okay? And obviously, the tasks for which a research assistant is employed in a DFG-funded project differs in length and content and responsibility from the tasks, say, for a PhD or a postdoc. And while this is a good opportunity for a PhD researcher, the primary aim of these employments in a DFG-funded project is carrying out the project, not writing one's PhD thesis. The PhD thesis is kind of something that happens on the side. Okay? However, the DFG also has a program which is especially for PhDs. This program is called the Research Training Group Program. Research Training Groups, or in short, RTGs, aim at providing PhDs with a very good environment for writing their thesis. There's a group of around 10, 12 professors, and they look after 10, 12 PhDs, okay? All PhDs in this group write their thesis on a topic which fits under a thematic roof, okay? The funding for the individual PhD is for up to 4 years. And in the RTGs, the PhDs can do their research, network with other researchers and their fellow PhDs, of course. They can travel to conferences. They can participate in a tailor-made qualification program. They can spend some months at a partner lab or wherever it suits their research and the qualification. So everything is well made, provided for the qualification of the PhD. There are approximately 200 RTGs that we fund at the moment, and you would need to find one in your scientific field. And when you found one that fits your interests, then you would check with the speaker of this RTG whether they have a vacancy for you. I think that the RTGs are a very good place to do one's PhD because you can be sure that the place and the topic have been carefully reviewed by us, by the DFG. And if an RTG is established, if they succeeded in the review process, they are really well funded, and the supervision and support for you as a PhD is guaranteed. Okay, that's what I wanted to say about working in a project or doing one's PhD in an RTG. Maybe, Anna, we could make a first stop and ask for first questions.
Yeah, okay, thank you. There were many people, or there were already some people that were looking for PhD positions in a special field. I think we can say about that that the RTGs offer research in a variety of fields. But perhaps could you tell the participants where to find out in which research field the RTGs carry out research, and where should or whom should they contact if they would like to participate in a research training group or to apply for a research training group?
There is a list of all RTGs that we fund at the moment. It is to be found on our website, and you can select different fields, say life science, that would be biology and medicine, or humanities and social sciences. And you can also select the Bundesland where you would like to stay. And there you can see whether there is an RTG in your field. And you can see the title, and you see the name of the speaker, and usually there should be a link to the individual website of the individual RTG. And there you can find all the relevant information you need. Also, in most cases, they have an entry whether they have vacancies or not, and how to apply for funding to become a member in this RTG.
Would it make sense? That's a question that I'm asking now because comes to my mind. Would it make sense to send a speculative application as if there is no vacancy at the moment, or doesn't it make sense? Does it depend?
Yeah, that's a good question. A very relevant one. I'd try. If they say on the website categorically that they don't have vacancies, maybe it's not necessary to ask. But if you think that this RTG is exactly what you were looking for, the field in which you would like to do your PhD, well, simply write an email and asking whether they have a vacancy in the foreseeable future. Doesn't cost a lot of time, so I would do it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, there were many people asking subject-specific questions, so I'm looking for a PhD in this and that subject. So I would like to repeat that we can't answer these questions here because this is a thing that you would need to find out yourself if there is a RTG that fits to your profile. In general, there are links, but that's independent from the DFG. There are search engines that help you finding out where in Germany you can do which kind of research. And perhaps my dear colleague Julia can post the link to the German research the JRID is the abbreviation for German Research Institution, and this is a database that's also from the DFG, but it's a collection of all research institutions in Germany. And with this database, you can find out where to do which kind of research. So this should be the answer to the subject-specific questions. And one more thing, because Anjana mentioned this before, the DFG only funds basic research, right? Not applied research. Oh, okay, so this is a thing that's important to keep in mind about the funding from the German Research Foundation. I think, and there were also questions about how it works with the chat. We answer the questions from the chat, but we can't answer all questions because there are many participants here. So we will try to answer all questions, and if you still have open questions, you can contact us later after the session by email. And of course, Julia will also answer questions in the chat. And I think with these words, as we also already have 2:15, I would like to proceed to the postdoc funding programs from the DFG, which are a very important part of the DFG funding. So please, Anjana, go ahead.
We continue above the dotted line, and I would like to start with the general grant program. The individual research grant, it is called here on the slide. It's kind of the bread and butter grant, if you will. Every researcher can apply for project funding to carry out a project for up to 3 years in Germany. Yeah, you need to find a host where you would like to carry out that project before you submit your application, and you can apply for all the funding you need to carry out the project. Okay. The review process focuses on the quality of the project, is it worthwhile funding, and on whether you as the applicant are qualified to carry out the project, whether you can do it. Okay, so it's the most general program we have, very flexible. By contrast, the 3 programs above are especially for early career researchers in different career phases. Directly after gaining their PhD, with some postdoc experience, and if someone is already qualified to become a professor, but still waiting for a vacant professorship in his or her special field, okay? In these 3 programs, not only the quality of the research, but also the career development is looked at during the review process. And it is also relevant for the application, yeah? So, very briefly, the Walter Benjamin program is for fresh postdocs, for those who are really in the early postdoc phase and who would like to carry out their own independent project while still benefiting from career support of a senior researcher and of their host institution. The funding in this case is for 2 years. The Eminöter program, the one in the middle, is targeted at very talented researchers 2 to 4 years after PhD. If you want to become a professor, this is your program. The funding for a junior research group is for 6 years, and the competition is high, the funding is generous, and the reputation of this program is really very good. Finally, the Heisenberg program for highly talented researchers who already fulfill all the requirements for a professorship. I don't want to say more about the Heisenberg program if you don't have any questions to this program, because I think most of you are rather more interested in the other 3 possibilities. Okay, that was my short presentation, and now we have time left for the questions. Anna, I don't hear you yet.
Sorry, I muted myself. Sorry. Yeah, thank you, Anjana. Yeah, I'm having a look at the questions now. There are many questions, and one of them that I thought is interesting is there any fundings for partial time training? Can you do something like a part-time postdoc, for example, or what? Yeah.
That depends. If you want to work part-time because you have a family to look after, or yeah, that would be a reason why you can work part-time. However, you should always apply for 100% position. And after you have received your approval letter, you can then turn to the DFG and ask to do it only 50%, 75%, whatever fits your needs. But we only accept family reasons to do this. Something that is not possible is that you top up another position you have. If you have already a part-time position and needs something to top up this, that is not allowed. No.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. I think many of the participants that have this question perhaps wouldn't apply for a full time and think that it's possible to go half time later. So would you always, if I apply for a full time funding, would you always accept it if family is the reason? So would that be always possible, or could it also be that they say no?
A family reason is always accepted, but please consider if you want to work only 50%, that doesn't mean that somebody in your group, if you have collaborators, also want to cut their work by half. So you need to, if you are the project leader, to think about this. But yes, of course, if for family reason someone wants to reduce his or her work time, that is always possible.
Perfect. I think that's really good to know. So another question was, which are the possibilities to have a funded postdoc on an independent project at university of your choice or of our choice, I think this person means, and not to start a research group? So funded postdoc at the university.
Yeah, you can use the research grant program, the individual grant, where you can also apply for your own position. I forgot to mention that. You can, depending on your career stage, apply for the Walter Benjamin. And one could also think about using the Eminöter program just for oneself without a junior group. However, it might always be a good idea to have a student assistant or whatever. It really depends on the topic someone is working on and the subject area.
And if I have a student assistant, this would be already a junior group, so this would already count as junior group?
No, but you can apply for personnel, and that would be part of the personnel.
Okay,
if you don't want to have the responsibility for, say, 1 or 2 doctoral students or even more, so you don't need to apply for a whole group. And also the size of the junior research group is really depending on the project. If you can carry out the project for the Eminöter on your own, it is possible. It's rarely done because it's of course something good if you have someone to work with you and for you.
Okay, thank you. Now, a further question was, hi, what's the success rate of the Walter Benjamin program and for the individual research grant? Can we apply in both parallel?
I would not recommend to do it in parallel. I would do it once after another, and first Walter Benjamin and then the research grant is the correct way, because the research grant you can do it all the time, and as I said, it's not a career development tool or instrument. And what was the first part of the question? Sorry, I forgot.
What's the success rate? Do you know the success
rate? Yeah. In general, we have a success rate of 30%. 30%. Eminöter is, of course, being an excellence program, the success rate is lower. And for Walter Benjamin, we have to differentiate. I forgot to mention that, or I rather thought it's not relevant here. But the Walter Benjamin exists in 2 variants. You can either leave Germany for 2 years to go abroad with a fellowship. There the success rate is a little bit higher, 50% or higher even. And if you have an employment in Germany, the success rate is, I'd say, between 30 and 40%. But I would like to mention that you need to be integrated into the German research system in order to be able to get a fellowship to go abroad.
Okay,
and I thought that most of the audience here is abroad and wants to come to Germany. That's why I didn't mention that.
I think most of them are, but actually I think we also have some people that are located in Germany here. So there are more questions, 2 more questions about the Walter Benjamin program. One is, for the Walter Benjamin program, you really need to have already 3 years in Germany at the moment of the application. So this is only for the one funding line, as you just explained, right?
Yeah, if you want to stay in Germany and do your research here, no problem. You can apply from the outside without ever having been in Germany before to stay here in Germany. The problem is only if you want to go abroad. So
and then what was it 3 years, or how much was it? The time
for Walter Benjamin, it's more complicated. You need to be a Bildungsinländer.
Okay.
So better not mention it. If you are in doubt whether you are eligible to apply for the Walter Benjamin, send an email to Verfahren-Nachwuchs. Maybe
Julia already posted it in the chat.
Okay. Send your CV to this email address and ask whether you are eligible to apply for Walter Benjamin. They can help you. Yes, that's the right address.
For the Germans, it's a little bit more complicated, right? Yeah. Another question about the Walter Benjamin program is, my question is about the Walter Benjamin program to conduct an independent research project just after PhD completion. Is it mandatory not to have the same host institute as that during PhD?
Very good question. Thank you very much. Yes, the Walter Benjamin is a program to foster mobility. And there are only very few exceptions where it is possible to stay in the same location. As a rule, you have to change your host institute after PhD.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Is it mandatory to apply for a postdoctoral program in Germany, or can, I think this means German, so in the German language, or can the application be in English?
Of course, the application can be in English. There is only a few sentences that need to be in German, sorry. But yes, if you write your application in English, we can ask reviewers from all over the world to help us with the reviewing. Yes.
Perfect, thank you. A question about the Eminöter program. So for Eminöter, do you have to write the application with the positions you will be employing, or can you create these positions later?
You need, whenever you apply for funding from the DFG, explain what you want to do and how you want to do it and what costs this will incur. So what costs you apply for. So you would say, I want to carry out a project on this and that, and for this I need my own position as a group leader or whatever, plus one PhD candidate who helps me do this and that, and one PhD to do this and that for so much time. When you get the approval letter, you are relatively flexible how you use the money. Yeah, but you need to explain to the reviewers and to the review boards what kind of money you need and how you want to spend it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Okay, I think there are so many questions, and it's already almost 2:30. So I think we are going to extend this session for 5 more minutes because I would like to answer some more of your questions. Okay, this is also interesting again about Walter Benjamin program. Can we apply for Walter Benjamin postdoc before obtaining the PhD, especially for final year candidates preparing for defense?
No, that's unfortunately not possible. However, we know that this is a crucial, critical phase in early career researchers' career. So if you have submitted your PhD thesis, and if your supervisors say, yes, we are sure that this PhD researcher will be successful and will soon be a doctor, and you need to also submit your finished manuscript, then you can apply even before you have defended your PhD thesis. Yeah, but in order, in case you get the funding, you can only use it after you have defended your thesis, as if you have finished your PhD. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. There were also some questions about the time frame for applying. And so one person, for example, asked, I have received my PhD 9 years ago at inorganic chemistry. Can I apply for one of those programs?
You can always apply for the research grant program, including your own position. I would think that Walter Benjamin, it depends what you have done in the meantime, but X years, we are, how should I put it? We don't have a fixed number of years after PhD for Walter Benjamin. That is on purpose because we want to be flexible, but you need to be really an early postdoc. And for Eminöter, it's 2 to 4 years after PhD. If you are a doctor with a specialization, then we can open the window of application for 2 more years. And if you have a child, for a mother, we open the window of opportunity for 2 more years. And for a father, 1 year plus more time if he can show that he has really taken care of the child by taking parent leave or something like that. So I hope that helps.
This is really helpful, I think. Thank you. I'm looking for further questions. So there's a more general question, perhaps a very general question, and Julia already posted some of the answers, the link to the process from submission to decision and the FAQ for applicants, but perhaps you can also say the process, how we get the scholarship from the German Research Foundation. Perhaps you could just summarize this again for those who didn't participate in that part of the
session. I would recommend that you carefully, after you have decided which program you are going for, you need to carefully read the guidelines. I would highly recommend to check the FAQs. They're really helpful. And we have a new area on the website where we explain how you write your application, what to think of, what to prepare in advance. Very, very helpful. And you submit your proposal in an on the internet, in the ELAN portal, and it takes approximately 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, but the advantage with the DFG is that you can submit your proposal whenever you are ready. There are, as a rule, no deadlines. That is, I think, quite beneficial.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think so too. So there's so many questions, and I'm really sorry that we can't answer all of them. Perhaps I was already scrolling a little bit up to the older questions. So one of them is if the average, perhaps this is also interesting, if the average length of a postdoc is now approaching 10 years compared to 2 up to 3 years a decade ago, then your definition of okay. But is it 10 years? I mean, would you say that the postdoc is 10 years? I never heard of that actually. Yeah.
I hope not, because that's a negative tendency if that would be true.
Okay.
We should aim at shortening the time.
Yeah. And according to your experience or your knowledge, this is still working with at least the people who receive DFG funding?
Well, I think we are talking about postdoc, or are we talking
we're talking about postdoc.
PhD? Mm-hmm. Yeah, postdoc. There's a tendency that one does one postdoc after another because there is no permanent position available, not enough for all the people who aspire at a professorship or something similar. That is a fact. And you need to think about this in your career plans. But really, if it's one postdoc after another, I think one should consider different career options. Yeah, it's a sad situation, I agree. And you can, if you're good enough, apply again and again for DFG funding, a research grant up to retirement. But for your own sake, you all want to reach your safe haven at a certain point in your career, in your life. Yeah. So if it takes too long, I'm sorry to say, sometimes it's good to quit and do something else, which is also a nice option. Could also be a nice option, and a better paid one sometimes.
Yeah, and I think this is, I don't know for how many people this is relevant here, because this is especially relevant if you want to stay in Germany forever. But if you want to have a research stay, for those who want to do that, it's not relevant, I think. Would you say? Yeah. So if you, so it's and for those who want to stay in Germany forever with funding or in the research landscape, which we would appreciate, of course, it is complicated and it's just as Anjana said, but as most of you are currently younger, probably it's something that will be relevant later, or not at all if you're returning to your home country after a few years. It just depends, but so perhaps one more question, and then I would close the session. Thanks to everybody, and I need to mention we we are currently recording this session here, and we will publish it on our website. And within this week, I can't promise which day it will be exactly, you will be able to watch the recording. And of course, you can also contact us at Research in Germany or at the German Research Foundation later if you have further questions. And we are really sorry if we couldn't answer all questions. So just give me a second to browse the questions.
If I may,
yeah?
I would like to say that the DFG offers a talk like this next week, same time, in English, a bit longer, if that's helpful for some of you.
Sounds good. Perhaps if you have the websites for the participants.
You have to check on our website and enroll, so to speak.
Okay, so perhaps there was now a long question. I'm sorry that I won't be able to answer this one. Perhaps here just a short question. That's a PhD funded by the DFG for 3 years, but it had to be extended due to COVID. I think this means necessary to have it in 4 years because it had to be prolonged due to COVID. So do you have any regulations for that?
I don't know exactly if I understood the question correctly, but I would like to assure you that is something you don't have any possibility to influence the situation. So the DFG gave some extensions, that is true, and that this should not be seen as something negative. No, not at all.
Mm-hmm. So if I had to prolong my thesis due to circumstances that were not influenced by me,
out of your control.
Okay, so if this is no problem, that's perfect. Good to know. And now I would like to ask Anjana, and with this I would like to close the session, but please don't leave us because we have a short questionnaire for everybody who is still with us for you after this. But Anjana, thanks first of all for your very useful and insightful answers. Do you have a take-home message for our participants?
This might seem what I have explained and the whole German research landscape from the outside might seem a bit complex, but I would like to encourage you to try. We have the DIAD, Research in Germany, the German Research Foundation. We all have websites with lots of information, especially the FAQs I would recommend to read carefully, and I would encourage you to try. And I wish you good luck for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Anjana. I also have a take-home message. At Research in Germany, we also have a lot of information for international researchers. And I just give you the link to our website. And there you find much more information, and you can also contact us here. And we are very happy to help you in the future. And thanks to all of you for joining us today, for your interesting questions. It was a pleasure to have you with us, and we will try to answer further questions in our next online talks, which I'm going to give you the link to now also. They can be found on our event website. And with these words, I would say thank you and goodbye, and would be great if you could answer the 3 questions on the next slide. So thanks a lot and goodbye.